Hey guys, it is me, the Emerald Sword, and welcome back to another video where today I will be reviewing Firestarter by Stephen King for you all. So yeah, as you can see, it's a bit of a smaller book, but then you take a look at the page count and you're like, does that add up? And I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, so that's the page count, and then that's the dimensions of the book. Anyway, that's just kind of something weird I just thought of. Anyway, but yeah, Firestarter is definitely an older book by now. It was released in 1980, so now it's 44 years old. And then the first movie with Drew Barrymore is 40 this year. So yeah, it's definitely a classic, which I like. So we're going back to the Stephen King classics. But anyway, so Firestarter follows this guy named Andy McGee, desperately trying to get his daughter Charlie McGee to safety. And so you're probably wondering, why do they need to get to safety? Well, so basically, 12 years ago, back when Andy was in college, he really needed the money, so he signed up for this thing called the Lot 6 experiments, where he would meet his future wife. Anyway, so the Lot 6 experiments, what they are is they kind of give people telekinesis, telepathy, precognition, like all those mind powers like that. So if you've like read Carrie or The Shining, or if you've seen the movies, then that's kind of what they are, basically. But anyway, yeah, so Andy and Vicky get those powers, and they're like the only two to survive. So obviously they're suspicious, of course. So anyway, in the future, after Charlie's born, Vicky is unfortunately killed when government agents are looking for her. She is tortured and killed. And so Andy is like, oh, that's a problem. So now, basically, the book is just trying to get him and Charlie to safety before the government agents can find them. So when we meet them in the book, they are running through New York City, and they hop in a taxi cab. And so they want to go to like Albany or whatever, and they're in Manhattan. And if you don't know, Albany is quite a bit of ways away from Manhattan. So then Andy's like, would you do it for $500? I don't know, I'm holding up a 2, but basically he offers him $500, but it's really a 1. So he uses the push, as it's called, his mind powers, and turns it into a 500. And then the taxi driver's like, yeah, okay. So anyway, they go to Albany, and then while Charlie's trying to get some money, she accidentally sets a guy's shoes on fire, and that's not good. So of course, because she's the fire starter, which is a rare ability, by the way, that doesn't normally happen. So obviously the government agents are alerted, and then they're on the road again. So they go to like this motel and stuff, get a hitchhike, I guess you could say. But they hitchhike with this one guy named Irv Manders, and of course they don't want Irv Manders to know who they really are. So Charlie goes under the name Roberta, because that's her middle name, and then Andy goes under the name Frank. And so they go to Irv Manders' farm, meet his wife and all that. But then the government agents tracked them to the Manders farm. So then there's a standoff. Irv gets shot but survives. Charlie explodes a couple cars. Some people die. Standard Stephen King stuff. And then, of course, it's on the road again. So Irv gives Andy one of his extra cars. I don't remember what it is. It's a Jeep. Okay. Yeah, it's a Jeep, I think. So anyway, and then Andy remembers that his granther, that's his grandpa, so his granther has like some sort of house thing up in Vermont. So they drive to Vermont, and then they get to stay there for several months. But unfortunately, things start to take a turn. So after the government agents kind of do their thing, they hire this guy called John Rainbird to secure Charlie and Andy and bring them in. So Rainbird is like, okay, I got you. So then anyway, Stephen King stuff happens, and then eventually Rainbird and the forces of Lot 6 end up at Granther's farm. And as Charlie and Andy are walking out to leave because Andy doesn't feel that they're safe, Charlie is shot with a tranquilizer dart, and then Andy is. So then they get taken to Lot 6, of course. And keep in mind, we're halfway through the book right now, so just the rest of the book, like, just the second half of the book is just the Lot 6 stuff, so that might be boring to some people. Anyway, so in Lot 6, Andy and Charlie are separated for reasons, and then Andy is, like, taking drugs or whatever to, like, mess up his mind, so he can't think straight, he can't do the push. And then Charlie, she gets a visit by John the orderly, who is actually Rainbird, disguised as an orderly because he wants to kill her. Anyway, so in like the 6 or so months that they're there, Charlie and Rainbird go really close, like they get really close and stuff. And Andy slowly starts to get his mind back. Isn't that pretty cool? So he goes to this guy named Captain Hollister. He's like, hey, you're under my control now. And then Cap is like, okay, yeah, that works. So then basically, there's like this whole thing where they're going to Hawaii because Andy wanted it. So instead of going next week, they're going like a few days. Ask where the fueling stop is and like all this other stuff. And then Charlie needs to go with them because it's part of Andy's plan to get out. So anyway, stuff happens. And then Charlie goes out to the horse barn ranch thing. The horse stable. And then Andy finally meets up with Charlie again. And they're like, yeah, we're together again. But it turns out that Rainbird, of course, was evil the whole time. So then Charlie's like, but John was so nice. And then Andy was like, but he was evil the whole time. So anyway, and then John, he's like, all right, guess I gotta kill the child. So he fires a bullet at Charlie, and then Charlie uses her fire powers to melt that thing out of the air. So then basically there's just like a bunch of fire and stuff going on. Andy gets shot, and then Charlie's like, oh my gosh, is he dead? And then Andy's like, oh my gosh, I'm not dead, Charlie. Go destroy stuff. And then he dies. Yes, I'm serious. So then Charlie's like, ah! So then, yeah, she just burns the whole place down. John goes, he just burns into flame. And so, yeah, Charlie's now on her own. And then we meet back up with the Manders. Remember, their house got destroyed in the attack. And then Charlie shows up. She's like, hey, I don't have a dad anymore. Can I live here? And they're like, sure. But anyway, so at the end of the book, because Andy had wrote a couple letters to like a bunch of news organizations, probably to tell them about the stuff, like Charlie's powers and that they should be protected and all that. But Lot 6 intercepted them, of course. So in the final part of the book, Charlie goes to New York, think it's New York Times, and then she decides to tell New York Times her story. And that's where the book ends. But at the heart of Firestarter, it is about wanting to protect children and letting children live their lives. And of course, it's about learning to control powers. But yeah. Anyway, Firestarter was a really good book. It's been a while since I read classic Stephen King. I say that classic Stephen King was about 74 when Carrie was released to about 1999-ish. And then 2000 to present day is newer Stephen King. So the last classic Stephen King I read was Gerald's Game back in June of 2023. It's January of 2024 now, so that was like half a year ago at this point. But yeah, so I really enjoyed the return to classic Stephen King. And next month, I will be reading Rage, the first Richard Bachman book. I also made a short on it, so go check that out if you haven't seen it. And it is the one book that Stephen King never wants you to read again. And then I will review it for you all and explain why exactly that is. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, keep watching my videos because there are more to come. Anyway, I've been Ben from the Emerald Sword, and I will see you guys next time.